Okay guys, we're starting on a new unit today, and Unit 5, the main topic of this unit is going to be transformations. And a transformation is when you change a figure, alright? And so we're going to be looking at different types of transformations throughout this unit. And the one that we're looking at in this section specifically is called a translation. And the easy word for translation is slide. So it's when you take a figure and you slide it in a certain direction and for a certain magnitude. Alright, so direction is which way are you going to slide it, and magnitude is how far are you going to slide it. Alright, so if you know those things, then you can perform a translation. Which direction and how far are you going to slide it. Alright, and so one main thing to note about translation is you must slide the figure without twisting it or turning it or flipping it or anything like that. It's just a straight slide or a straight push, you can think of it as. Alright, so let's perform a translation, see how it works. Let's say I want to take this triangle ABC and I want to translate it 5 to the right. Okay, so do I have a direction? Yes, I do. Right. Do I have a magnitude? Yes, I do. 5 spaces. Okay? So what that means is every single vertex in the triangle will move 5 spaces to the right. So A will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces to the right. And notice the new point is A prime. Alright? So this little, it looks almost like an apostrophe, but it's not. Okay? It denotes the prime point. So the original point is point A. The point that A goes to after the translation is point A prime. So the original point is before the movement. The prime point is after the movement. Okay, so that's important to note as well. B moves 5 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. C moves 5 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so everything moves 5 spaces over to the right. All right. So the original triangle is called the pre-image. The new triangle is called the image. Right? Original triangle is the pre-image. The new triangle after the movement is called the image. The original triangle is labeled with normal points, okay, letters. The new triangle after the movement, after the transformation, is labeled with prime points. All right? Now, here's some other notation we want to look at. The way that we can denote this from what happened here on the graph with the actual triangle is we can use this notation to show that a transformation has occurred. So now triangle ABC, all right, and this arrow is the symbol for transformation. So this one transforms, or another word for that is maps. Okay, so this is a mapping and a transformation of the same thing. Alright, so triangle ABC maps to triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. And again, when you're writing down the transformation in this with this symbolism, then the order of the points tells you what points it goes to. Alright, so A goes to A prime, B goes to B prime, C goes to C prime, and so on. So the order of the letters is important when you're writing it down in this notation. Alright? Okay, so let's actually try one. Let's say I want to take this triangle, and I have the points, and the coordinates of the points are listed out. Let's say I want to translate this thing 4 left and 3 down. 4 to the left, 3 down. That's my translation. And after that happens, I want to find the coordinates of these 3 prime points. So I want to find the coordinates of the prime points after the movement 4 left and 3 down. Alright, so let's just take point A and go 4 left, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 left and 3 down. 1, 2, 3 down. Alright, so there is point A prime. Alright, so what's the coordinate of this point A prime? Well, if I count it out, it's negative 1, 2, 3, and up 1. So the coordinates for A prime are negative 3, 1. All right, negative 3, comma 1. So point A translates from 1, 4 to negative 3, 1. All right. What about B? So I need to make the same movement for B. 4 left, 3 down. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, 4 left, and 1, 2, 3 down. 4 left, 3 down. The dew point is B prime. Okay. What are the coordinates for B prime? It's 1, 2, negative 2, and down 2, negative 2. So the coordinates for B prime would be negative 2, comma, negative 2. All right, so again, we are just translating each one of the points, 4 left and 3 down. Let's go with C now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And there's the coordinate for C prime, or the point for C prime. Its coordinate is 0, 0. So the coordinates for C prime will be 0, 0. Now, after you get all of the vertices moved, you can actually draw the new triangle. So my new triangle now will look like this. All right. So once you get all 3 points relocated, you can draw the new triangle. And notice it was slid from here to here. All right. So a translation did occur. Now, once you perform the translation and get all the prime points, the coordinates of the prime points, there is one more task that they're going to be asking us to do, and that's to write the rule. We need to write the translation rule. All right. So a translation rule, or a transformation rule, I should say, because it's used for all the transformations. Okay. A transformation rule, you can think of it as a formula. It works kind of like the same way that a formula would for like in an equation. All right. So what we want to know is, all right, so if I translate these points, 4 left and 3 down, then the rule is kind of like a general formula that you can use for any one of the original points, and it tells you what to do to get the prime points. All right, so like for example, if I'm going, let's take A for example. So 1, comma 4 mapped to negative 3, comma 1. All right, so how would I turn this point into the new point? Well, I need to figure out what happened to the x coordinate and what happened to the y coordinate to get the new points. Well, remember, my movement is 4 left and 3 down, right? Okay, so movement 4 left, remember, movement left and right, that affects your x-axis. And if I'm moving to the left, that's going to subtract from the x-axis, right? So really, if I go 1 minus 4, that's negative 3. And what about the 3 down? That's going to affect the y-axis. It's going to subtract it by 3. Well, what's 4 minus 3? It's 1. So that's kind of the rule that you use to get from one point to another. But generally speaking, to write a general rule for all the points, then we can do this. Well, again, here, what's happening to the x-coordinate? It's being subtracted by 4 to get the new one. So the x-coordinate being subtracted by 4, how would I write that as a formula? X minus 4. All right? So what's happening to the x-coordinate? You take the x-coordinate and you subtract 4 from it, and you would get the new coordinate. And then kind of likewise, for y, if I take the y-coordinate and I subtract 3 from it, then I get the new y-coordinate. So subtract 3 there, and then that's your rule. So the rule is saying, the translation rule here is saying you take the original point, you subtract 4 from the x value of the original point and 3 from the y value of the original point, and then you will have the new points. All right? And so that's kind of how it looks. And if you double checked it with points B and C, you would see that also would be the case. All right? So that kind of gives us 2 alternatives now in order to come up with the correct answer to these. If it's on the graph, you can do the movement to get the new point and get the coordinate. Or if you get the rule, then you can just apply the rule to all the points. Subtract 4 from the x. 4 minus 4 is 0. Subtract 3 from the y. 3 minus 3 is 0. And it would work here too. So 2 minus 4 is negative 2. And 1 minus 3 is negative 2. So that gives you 2 ways to get the prime coordinates. All right. Let me see what else we need to look at. Let's practice another one, but just with 1 point. Let's say I want to translate point D, 2 to the right and 4 down. So let's draw a point D up here at -2, 3. -2, 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's say that that's my point D at -2, 3. Okay, so I want to translate point D, 2 to the right and 4 down, and come up with the coordinates of D prime. So let's go 2 to the right, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So there's D prime. Well, what's the coordinate for D prime? It is 0, -1. All right, so that just gives you another quick example of a different translation. We can write the rule for this one as well. And so 2 to the right, that's going to add 2 to the x coordinate, so that's going to be x plus 2. And down 4 is going to subtract 4 from the y coordinate, so that'll be y minus 4. And once again, the rule tells you what to do to the original coordinates to get the new coordinates. Right? Okay, so there's a different way that they could ask a problem about translation, and it could be something like this. Suppose I have a 4-sided figure here, got all the points listed, the coordinates are listed as well, and I have W prime listed at 1, 1. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got one of the prime points. Okay, so out of the 4 prime points, I have one of them. All right, so here's the question. Okay, if I know the movement of one of the points, like from W to W prime, okay, the question is, could I use that to get all of the points? And the answer is yes, because remember, if one moves over 2 and down 4, then they're all going to move over 2 and down 4. So if I want to find the coordinates for x prime, I need to figure out what the translation movement is from W to W prime and then apply that to the other points. All right, so let's see if we can figure this out. It's going to the right. Let's see if we can find out by how much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it looks like. Okay, double check that and make sure that's the case. So we're over 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's actually 9 instead of 10. Remember, don't count 1 until you actually go 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So it's over by 9. It's to the right by 9. All right, and it's up by 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's up by 4. Okay, so it's over to the right by 9 and it's up by 4. Well, what does that mean? So if W moves to the right by 9 and up by 4, if that's the translation, if that's the slide, then every point should move over by 9 and up by 4, including the one I want, which is x prime. So let's count x. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and up by 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so right there is where x prime is going to be. And so the question is now, what's that coordinate? Well, it's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The coordinate for x prime is 1, 8. Alright? And so, again, if one of the points moves over 9 and up 4, they all got to move over 9 and up 4. And so what would the rule be here? Well, what's happening to the x coordinate? It's going to the right by 9, which means it would add 9 to the coordinate. And for y, what's happening to the y? It's going up by 4, which means it's going to add 4 to the y coordinate. So whatever the movement is, left and right, adds or subtracts to the x coordinate when you're writing the rule. Whatever movement you have up and down, that will add or subtract to the y coordinate when you're writing out the rule. All right? And so with that gives us all the examples that we need to be able to go and do our quiz.